Oh, hello, Studio 108 community. I am here with Lisa Turner because it's eclipse season. So, yeah, and it's sunny out, which is also
it is sunny. I was sitting out and I feel like you got actually a little bit of color sitting out there for 5 minutes. So
that's all it takes because you have that olive skin, it'll color right up.
So I'm feeling good.
I know I was excited this weekend because Bill brought the benches for the front of the studio. So the benches are back.
That's where I was sitting.
Come and sit outside. Yeah, you can earlier class and you can sit out there and just like watch the cars go by. And the Dairy King isn't open yet, but it will be soon. And then we'll have all the feels.
Yeah,
all the summer feels. But in the meantime, eclipse season is usually a little bit of a conversation. So
it is a conversation, and it's especially with the Aries, right? And we'll go through the charts, but sometimes eclipses can be very draining energy as well. So if you've noticed that you're maybe a little bit more tired, it's probably the drain from the eclipse. I did write down eclipses run in 18.5-year cycles. So we're starting to transition from the Taurus Scorpio into the Aries Libra. So we're moving backwards, and it begins a different story. So Aries energy is very much about the I am, the autonomy, I'm going to set out and do this myself. Where Libra is about the partnership, right? Well, do you want to do it on your own? What if I help you, or weighing out the options of things. So you'll notice that dynamic is going to start to change as the eclipses start to move into the Aries Libra opposition. So this eclipse, 19th, 20th of April, is at 29 degrees Aries. And this is what we call an anaretic degree. So it's the last degree of the sign. So not only is it the last degree of a sign, but now we're in Aries, right? So there's almost this sense or feel of I haven't done it, I need to do it, right? Like that feel of like a last chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it now. So with this though, with the astrological configuration, you have the sun, you have the moon, you have Jupiter, right? So Jupiter is all about the sense of faith, belief, right? We feel it in our gut, this knowing that we have to take the leap. Like this is our last chance. So it brings that sense of courage with it.
Yeah, there's an impulsiveness even. Like there's that Aries fire behind it.
And then layer it a little bit more, Pluto squares the sun.
Okay.
So Pluto squaring the sun, I thought was kind of interesting. There's a couple different things that I found really interesting. Pluto squared the sun, I thought was interesting. That test of strength, the test of will, the test of this is always kind of what I've done. Do I have the courage to kind of like shed that old self, to try something new or try something different, to take that risk, and that risk can be anything. I had some, examples of, the risk could be going back to school when you're later in life. The risk could be going into a big social setting when you're more of an introvert. Like risk doesn't necessarily have to be running into a building on fire to save people.
Right.
With the sun square Pluto, it feels like a deep psychological metamorphosis, right? A shedding. The external changes start to reflect what's happening within you. So it could feel like an identity crisis, like, again, can I do this? And because it starts to change your path. That's what eclipses do. Gotcha. They change your destiny.
Okay, so on this idea, change your destiny, I want to interrupt you and just pause for a second, because I want to review what an eclipse is. So on a new moon, the sun and the moon are conjunct. They're at the same point in the sky. So an eclipse would come in between the earth and the moon.
Yeah, so the eclipse, what brings the fated part is that it's attached to the nodes of the moon. So if you look at your transit chart, you're gonna have either that north node or the south node on conjunct, yes.
Right.
And it comes in between the earth.
In
Yeah.
between the earth.
Yep.
Okay. So this is coming up is a new moon.
Solar, yep.
So
New
it's
moon.
a solar eclipse, which means the sun comes in between. No, a solar eclipse, the sun gets eclipsed. The moon comes between the earth and the sun.
Yes, because the sky is, well, we're not gonna see it.
We're not gonna see it. But what's happening is a solar eclipse, the sun is getting eclipsed by the moon coming. And the moon and the sun are in the same spot in the sky. And so the conjunct means like there's like a bam or a power or a shift or a catalyst or an extra jolt of that energetic expression.
It's, yeah, like a block.
Or a block.
Yeah, a block. Because you think about it, when the ancients saw that up in the sky, I mean, they thought the world was ending.
Right. They were like, where did the sun go? We're in trouble. I had to wait it out.
Yes.
Sound familiar? Yeah, we've had some waiting it out. Okay, so thank you for that. So what's coming up on the 21st is the new moon. The new moon is going to be at the 29th degree of Aries.
Right after the 8 years old, 19th, 20th.
19th, 20th. Okay. So, and then in addition, Pluto is square the sun. And Jupiter is conjunct. Wow.
Jupiter is conjunct the sun and the moon. So you have a stellium there.
Yeah.
So when we think of an Aries eclipse, we got to look at Mars. So we want to know what Mars is doing in this whole thing, because, you know, what kind of is Mars functioning at a very strong, ooh, yes, we're going to go after it, or we're going to have a strong drive to do so. Not so much.
No wonder we're drained.
Mars is in Cancer. So Mars is in its fall and it squares Chiron. So there's a wounding there, a questioning of the will, of the able to assert oneself. Because the emotions get, you know, muffled in there a little bit. So, you know, it made me think about, you know, we often desire things and want things, right?
Right.
But do we ever visualize what it would be like to actually get it?
Oh, that's such an interesting contemplation. Yeah.
Because Mars is in Cancer, it's about that feel, right? It's more based on our feelings. And we're gonna feel that energetic pull of this is my last chance to do it, right?
Right.
But what happens when we might have these insecurities of, but can I do it? Do I have the strength to do it, the courage to do it? But then what happens if I get it? How often do we not go after something because of the fear of actually getting what we want? I am totally guilty of this.
Right. It's like fear of failure doesn't stop people as often as fear of success. Fear of success is a real thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are just some of these thoughts that I was really sitting with as I was looking at this. And, you know, it's happening in everybody's chart. And, you know, based upon degree, it'll ping other planets in your natal chart. But just kind of sitting with that energy of it, and what of the shedding of the self, what it would feel like to get what it is that we go after.
I think that's so important too, for even making the manifestation or the materialization of your goal actualize itself. Because when you can put yourself in there and energetically embody and vibrate the truth of what the reality, the realization of what you're longing for and desiring, you're going to call it in so much more efficiently.
And I feel like, so we have like this weird psychic bond between us. So the next thing that happens is Jupiter moves into Taurus.
Oh, that's going to bring it to Earth. Yeah. It's going to anchor it right down to Earth.
Yeah.
When does Jupiter move into Taurus?
Oh, I have it in my window. It's coming here.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to tell us.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Look it up. She can't have every single line.
Yeah, I know. And it didn't bring my ephemeris.
It's not a part of the
But
Eclipse
it's
conversation.
soon.
Okay,
It's soon.
It's soon.
So, but it's important because Jupiter, you know, eclipses hold for an entire year.
Gotcha.
So, if something doesn't happen on the 19th or the 20th, or a couple days before, a couple days after, that's okay. Because you have these transiting planets that trigger that 29th degree, and Jupiter is going to be one of them.
Yes, so you just get like all the little steps of
Right.
the journey start happening.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the other thing that I thought was really interesting, just kind of like on a side note, is I was thinking about the Aries and Libra, and I was thinking about the root chakra, right, where we're kind of anchored, and that is the first house. So the root is Mars, which was found in the first house. The moon is the crown, which is the seventh house. And I'm like, I wonder where Jupiter lies. So Jupiter was at the third chakra, located in the stomach. So again, that sense of power and intuitive, like that gut reaction of I need to do it, or it's time to do it, I guess I should say.
There have been some of the teachers I'm listening to talking about like the evolution and the changing times, and that's what we're living through is this, there's always going to be evolution because energy is always moving and changing. So, but this idea that at some point we can't straddle anymore. At some point we have to just anchor in our next step, our next knowing. And each of these little nudges along the way is putting us further and further in that destination path, that higher way of relating to ourselves, a higher way of relating to others, a higher way of relating to our communities and our world around us. So this is actually getting to be the good stuff of the new beginnings.
I hope so.
Right?
Yeah.
We talked about that in December.
Yeah.
Beginning of the beginning.
Yes, we did. A couple kind of just like keywords, initiation, dynamic action, pioneering, being bold, being assertive. And again, I that feeling of it's time and it has to be now, that emergence. And notice how it feels in your relationships. It's Aries, so we walk alone in Aries. It's about the individual journey. In classes last week, I talked about the story of the Buddha, and if he had all these seers and sages saying, oh, he's going to do wonderful things and marry the most beautiful person and rule over far and wide. And then the one sage said, yes, he's going to do all of those things, but he's also going to renounce his throne. And it threw his parents for this big loop, and they kept him hidden, right? They kept him contained to the palace. And one day, I think he saw like someone who was poor or diseased, and he was like, wait a minute, there's more out there. And there was probably an eclipse in his chart at that point going, you need to explore. And he left everything behind, that sense of comfort and what is familiar. And that's really important when eclipses work through our lives, is it's taking us from one stage of life to the next stage of life. And we often have things that we leave behind in the process. And with this being at 29 degrees Aries, we may notice that we need to do it on our own. I was thinking about my own like act of bravery or courage. And to me, I really am uncomfortable like putting myself out there. Like I have to create a website. And it's like my heart kind of like flutters and I get really hot because there's something about putting myself out there like that is just, it brings up a lot of insecurity. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but I would rather be private about everything.
Vulnerable.
Very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I know that it's time to do it. I know that I need to do it. But again, that sense of bravery and courage of I can do it. It's the shedding of the old self. I'm feeling a little insecure. I can put myself out there and it's wonderful.
It's wonderful. You can delete it if you don't like it. It's, I'm writing a couple words down. So if you see me, the word I wrote down was pioneering. You guys, I feel like if you want to pick a word, she listed several. Can you repeat them again?
I can.
Everybody likes a different word. Those were
yes. Initiation, dynamic action, pioneering, the emergence into life. That is what Aries is, right? It's the emergence of the sprouts. It's the emergence of the season.
Yeah, and even if you feel like none of those words are really my words, or maybe there's nothing in my life that I really can put these tags on, sit back and watch and be really aware, because these, especially the Pluto and Sun, like these are like societal
The motivation
impact.
to start.
Yeah, these are like societal impacts. So you'll be seeing it in the world, whether you feel like you personally are getting that kind of a thing now, it's going to be happening all around us. You know, society's changing, conversations are changing, and you'll look back and you'll be like, oh, maybe in a little way it was me too, but certainly it lets me be more understanding about the other people in my life, Libra. You know, the partners, because I'm the Aries, it's always about me. Then I have to remember, no, it's about other people too, and I can, you know, be that kind of a friend.
Yeah.
All right.
All
We're
right.
gonna go through the houses.
We're gonna go through, and it is whole sign. It is whole sign. So, which is if you are an Aries, that is happening in your first house. So Aries at the ascendant, first house, notice if you're starting to feel a little bit of a physical drain. So even though I'm not an Aries rising in Placidus, this eclipse is happening in my first house, and I'm feeling tired. Like I actually have been taking naps, and I don't usually take naps, but I know that it's likely because I'm starting to feel this eclipse. So first house, Jupiter's in this house. So it might be all about what is it that you want to change about you? Like not only physically you, but how you want to, again, put yourself out into the world. Very, you know, really important. Mars, that is going to, again, who we answer to, it's transiting in the fourth house. So maybe this is about you and things that you need to address at home, right?
Fourth house home.
Fourth house home. Yeah, fourth house home. So, and Pluto's hanging out in the 11th house. So what is it in regards to community and self that there is a shedding or support from community that you need, you know, in this process? But the eclipse, 29 degrees Aries with that Jupiter all in the first house. Of self and how you are self-motivated. Again, maybe you want to start something, and it's time. Taurus, so we'll start to move backwards. That 29 degrees is going to fall in your 12th house. Maybe you are percolating something that you really haven't found the confidence to kind of go out there and do yet, because Jupiter is going to start making its way into your first house of self, right? So what is it that you've kind of been seeding that maybe you haven't really set into anything, or maybe you are a little bit nervous about putting out there that, you know, from the darkness, you're gonna
get the push.
You're gonna get the push.
The Jupiter push.
The Jupiter push, exactly.
And you guys, Jupiter is good luck too. So
Oh,
when she says
Taurus,
Jupiter pushes,
for
it's
sure.
yes,
Yes. So what are you seeding? What is kind of being hidden from you? Maybe it's a very psychological time for you. Maybe there are revelations that start to happen at the eclipse that kind of, oh, right, it's at the 29th degree. These things have been buried. It's the last chance to kind of like pull them up to be seen. So that Taurus rising, you are in the 12th house of what is hidden. So then you have the Geminis, you are now in your 11th house. So we are looking at these new starts with groups or support of friendships. Do you want to take a lead role in an organization or in a group? Do you have new goals that you want to set for yourself as well? As Jupiter goes through the 12th, I often like to look at Jupiter through the 12th of like gurus or teachers that kind of come to you as part of your spiritual journey. They kind of like come up out of nowhere as Jupiter goes through the 12th. So as you're seeding in the 11th, maybe you notice that you're starting to be attracted to different organizations, and maybe you form, you know, friendships with different teachers or spiritual advisors or anything along those lines with that eclipse. And then the Cancer rising, you are in your 10th house. So what is happening with career, your career growth, a career change, right? Change of position at the 29th degree. It is that public place. So if there's an announcement, right? If you've been kind of like waiting and sitting with news about starting something new, maybe it starts to come up. So maybe from a corporate level, maybe you have new business ventures or new ideas and avenues that you're getting ready to start. And then as Jupiter moves through the 11th, you might notice that you're now starting to pull upon the resources of friends or different connections, social media, networking, any of those things to help kind of move this new start in the public life, in your career sector.
I think timing is like what is so interesting to me. It's like when I have things that I'm working on and then all of a sudden I don't want to touch them for 3 or 4 or 5 days. And then all of a sudden it's like, I want to do it, but I want to do it differently. It's like, this is what is so perfect about this.
Timing is so important. And I see this a lot in personal practice, especially when it comes to relationships and moving. Like those are like the two that you see all the time. And sometimes the timing isn't right.
Yes.
And it's not that, from a relationship standpoint, it's not like you can't go out, date, or have fun, or do any of those things. Yeah, you can. But that relationship, that one that really comes together, it's just not time. And I remember being young and not an astrologer yet.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks. And just being really upset. But now I have such like obviously a different viewpoint, but I'm so grateful for that because the timing wasn't right and I had things to learn and to develop before that.
Right. And to trust the timing.
Trust the timing.
And to trust your inner urges. Like if you have an urge to, like my tasks on my desk, they get done lickety split when the timing's right. But some days nothing gets done and I'm like, I just can't get anything done today. And do I want to be like, I can't get anything done? Or do I just want to be like, looks like nothing's going to get done today. I'm going to go for a walk. Like just when the timing is right, things will come together very easily. So this eclipse is like that push. I'll let you back.
It is the push.
But no matter what sign you are, you're listening for your timing.
You are listening for your timing. You're listening for, I always say this to clients. Like there should be nothing that I say that sounds super foreign to you. There's an inner knowing already that this is where I'm guided. This is where I feel like being called. I'm just really there to validate what is already set in stage for you.
Exactly.
And that you already feel yourself getting pulled towards. So that is really, really important as well when it comes to timing. The Leos, you are in your 9th house. That 9th house is travel. So, are you traveling more with the Leo rising in the 9th house with the eclipse? But Jupiter's there. Jupiter loves being in the 9th house. Notice what happens to your faith, your spiritual practice, your religious practice. Notice what Jupiter's belief system, what belief systems start to change. Maybe it's through travel that you begin to change your belief systems. Or maybe you really haven't, been to church in a while or had a spiritual practice and you are just feeling this call to do so. As Jupiter goes into your 10th, maybe you go into business with someone foreign, right? Mm-hmm. So foreigners could also be part of that 9th house as well. Through the eclipse. And then the Virgos, we are in the 8th house with the eclipse at 29 degrees Aries. Maybe become debt free, right? Maybe you pay off all of your debt.
Maybe everyone's a Virgo
at a 21 degree, and you take that extra money as Jupiter goes through your 9th and you travel or you go to school, or maybe you need a loan, right? And you're like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to try. and you get a loan so that you can go to school as Jupiter goes to the 9th. So it is the 8th house. You know, I never like to be doom and gloom in anything, but the 8th house is death. So, you know, could you have an unexpected death? Yes. Is it like a guarantee? No, there's going to be more about.
And remember, death doesn't mean like a person either.
Correct.
Death could be the ending of something.
An ending of death.
Maybe you just finished that book in your nightstand that you've been taking forever to read.
So, you know, that is, you know, a potential, but again, it's shared, the 8th house is shared resources. It can be a new sexual relationship as well. So it is the 8th house of intimacy. Usually I go towards a financial aspect. You know, maybe your partner says, because it's the partner's money, your 7th house, so maybe your partner says, you know what, I'm retiring. And the ending had more to do about his or her financial status, with that to get money together, shared income. And now that, you know, they are retired, you get to go travel now as Jupiter goes through the 9th house. So the Libras, of course, you are in your 7th house. You know, the 7th house with an eclipse, could there be breakups? Yes. Could there be changes in relationships? Absolutely. You know, relationships could get a little rocky with the 7th house. But you know what? If you feel as though one relationship is slipping away, maybe you're like, hey, you know, we got to do this, or let's have a fresh start. Like, this is it, one last dig. You know, let's try. So that 7th house will bring up the themes about the other. And you may decide that you want to leave the relationship because, you know, you want to go on your, you know, you want to go on your own, that sense of autonomy, that sense of self. So, you know, relationship things will definitely come up, obviously, in the 7th house. The Scorpio risings, you will be in your 6th house. So again, you know, the 1st house, the 6th house, even with the 12th house, watch your health. It's just, those are kind of like draining placements. So the 6th house will bring up the themes of health and work. It is Aries, so notice, you know, maybe your job changes. Your job changes, implementing new, anything new, right, to facilitate and help your job and support your job. Health as well. If you are ready to start something new and get serious about it, you know, this is the time.
Good time to start a yoga practice. Get back in here. We got this Pilates reformers.
And we have so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's like,
we have so much fun.
Me too. I mean, it's so much fun doing it.
Our tag is your center for joyful and vibrant living. And I feel like if there's one thing we do A-okay, is we put that forward. So
yeah,
come laugh with us.
Absolutely.
And celebrate a little bit of, you know, you can cry if you need to. We're here for you, but
yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a happy crowd.
The Sagittarius, that's gonna be in the 5th house. So maybe you're ready to date. Again, date, children, those sexual relationships. So those are going to be your themes. The 5th house is all about creativity as well. So, you know, think about not only your creativity, but your self-expression, right? Yeah. Like, it's at that 29th degree, so is, you know, courage.
Have you written the book yet?
Yeah, have you written the book? Have you expressed yourself truly and truthfully? Because, you know, we don't often do that. We often like stuff things in, right? Mars is in Cancer, squaring Chiron. So we may have this feeling of, you know, well, I'm scared. I don't want to really say how I feel or really express who I am, because what if it's not received well? It's that feeling of that risk and the chance, and I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to let the eclipse take it for where it needs to go, you know? And trust that process, trust that Jupiter, that guide of where you're going.
And, you know, if you're tangled up in, like, some of us who have a hard time and need the courage and the push to say what we're feeling, like sometimes we'll mask it or sugarcoat it or word things in a way like so carefully, like deep breath, just say it.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
I think that, well, for me, I think it helps knowing that energetically, you might feel that insecurity around it. Or, wow, what if I really say, or what if I really do, or what if I really write the book and it's well received? Then what?
Then what?
You know, just what you had mentioned earlier. The feeling of actually obtaining our goal or what we've been working really hard for, something we don't really think about.
Yeah, even like what you have to give up. Like if I'm successful, I might actually have to work on a Saturday. If I'm successful, I might be at the office an extra hour. Or if I'm successful, I might, you know, things in my relationship and in my house, the dynamics might change. It's like all of those things. But typically our concern about it is much worse than the actuality.
I know.
It's like fear, false evidence, appearing real,
Appears real.
appears.
It's almost like a
isn't
little
real.
tag,
Yeah.
like the rear view mirror.
Exactly.
May appear.
It's like it may appear more disastrous than it actually is.
Yes,
And usually just this is it. This is why eclipses happen, to give us that little.
That's the astrology tagline.
Just do it. Yeah. Astrology tagline. Planets may appear. Let's see what they are.
So the Capricorn rising, that eclipse is happening in your 4th house. So we are going to be looking at themes around moving, changes in the home, changes in the family, those dynamics. Being at the anaretic degree, again, maybe you've been waiting to move, waiting, and now you just feel like it's a now. Jupiter's going to move into your 5th house. So, you know, have you been like holding off moving or renovating or anything? But now you're pregnant because Jupiter is moving into the 5th house and you want to start having a family, and now is the time, right? It's time to go. So those can be themes with the Capricorn rising. The Aquarian rising, you are in your 3rd house. So it is about the communication, the siblings, the everyday interactions that we have. You know, you were talking about writing a book. What is it that you want to say or write or do that you've been waiting on, you know, and just percolating with and not feeling like it's the right time to do? So, you know, that being said, as Jupiter moves through your 4th, you may notice that you start it and then you find that that home life is all about just supporting you in that process. Because Jupiter in the 4th is very nice for, you know, support of home and family. It can also bring move, but more likely it's the support from home and family. And then the Pisces rising with whole sign is going to bring that eclipse into your 2nd house. So what new way of making money is starting to get your
Pisces
attention?
rising, call me. I've been in on that.
So new ways of making money, you know, new ideas to put forth. So money, resources, you know, what you are putting out there. With Jupiter moving into the 3rd house, you know, if you do have new ways of making money, that Jupiter through the 3rd house is going to help facilitate. Selling is what came to mind, but the selling point, you know, like how we can really get that out there and get it out there.
Selling is good, like sharing.
Yes. So, you know, I don't think I necessarily ever really like one aspect or one astrological configuration versus another. I tend to enjoy eclipses just because symbolically there's a new beginning.
Yeah.
You know, so I do
usually on board because I'm an Aries. I like for things to happen. Yeah. So I'm okay with things like happening.
Yeah.
But you have to like work your scene. You just have to work your scene.
And you don't need to push anything that you don't feel in your gut.
Yeah.
Like, to me, fear is not in your gut. Fear is in your brain. And when you trust your gut, then it'll be okay.
And it's all working for you, not against you.
Yes.
Like, honestly,
Yes.
it's all just working for you. If you feel like it's working against you, then sit tight and breathe and just take it reflective.
Yeah,
And then the answers will reveal themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, it's a long story, long cycle. It's not like, these little window of dates comes and boom, something has happened. It's always the story that is moving through your life.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Now, this one's at the 29th degree, so I like it symbolically because it's like, I gotta do it.
Now or never, girl.
Now or never.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling that now or never. So I like the now or never. But again, notice those
So
feelings.
you see, Lisa says now or never. She's got a big smile. She's like sitting up in her chair. And if you don't have that kind of relationship with now or never, then you can just psychically grab that and practice it and say, like, how can my now? Oh yikes! Now or never. Oh my God! Like, how can you just get up a little taller in your seat and grab some of that?
Absolutely. And my now or never, what I need to sit with is what it feels like to be there.
Gotcha. Yeah,
for sure. Because that is where that fear piece, that fear piece is of, oh my gosh, what is that? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Success can feel good, right?
Yeah. We all have our stories. We all have our stuff that we're looking at and working through. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to. Yes, I did. Yeah. So I pulled 2 quotes, and if you were in class with me last week, you heard me talk about the story of the Buddha, and you heard me say 2 quotes that I really love because I thought that they fit very well with the eclipse. The one is not a quote, just a statement, to have a belief in oneself. The other is attachment leads to suffering, which is from the Buddha. We become attached to the comforts of our life, like he was in the comfort of his castle, kingdom. Eclipses are meant to break us free. So the more we are attached to the life in which we live, the more suffering we will have. So I really thought that fit well with eclipses in general. And the other one, which I do have like a small crush on him, is of course Joseph Campbell.
I have a small crush on everybody. And Brad Pitt or Joseph Campbell.
No, Joseph Campbell. And he has that famous quote of, "We must let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us." Again, trusting that process, trusting where the cosmos, the universe, God open the doors, and if you notice the endings happen, I say all the time that, we're not gonna live with our parents forever, right? We're meant to live with our parents for a short time, and then we change and we move out on our own. We have to clean the house every once in a while, or we're gonna be hoarders and have everything stuck to the ceilings. We have to move and change and purge, so to speak.
And I feel like there are so many changes happening in the culture, in society. Inevitably, that's going to be the case for this year. Like, it's all changes everywhere. So be on the good side. And in Kundalini Yoga, we practice a lot, like all of the technologies, to be on the good side of change, to be on the yes side of it, to be on the side where these changes are bringing us opportunities. And I love going through the houses with you like that, because it does talk about the timing and the preparedness and the intuitive trusting of the intuition, and then you're on the good side of change.
Yes, and to have the courage to be you. It is 100%. Aries. It is Aries. It is about you
being you.
You being you.
Claim it. All right, girl. I love this.
I felt like a high five with me.
That's high five. Namaste, you guys. Thanks for
Namaste.
following.